What's up, guys? Today in this video we will be reviewing the Netflix original I Am Not Okay With This, starring Sophia, Lillis, and Wyatt Oleff. This is a TV show about a girl named Sid, played by Sophia Lillis, who we soon find out has lost her father. She's going through sexuality discoveries, people enter her life who she feels is a big interruption. Her mother is overworked and often dumps her little brother on her to watch him, walk him home, feed him. Why am I making you sound like a dog? On top of all that, she discovers that she has these superhuman abilities. And even having those superhuman abilities, it makes her life just that much harder. When you would think it'd maybe make her life a little easier. Right off the bat, I just want to praise Sophia Lillis in this show. She takes this show and she just runs with it, just rages out. I think this show was really good casting her. I really liked her in it and the newest one, Hansel and Gretel. Well, Gretel and Hansel. She's 20 years old, by the way. I did not know she was 20. I thought she was like the same as the Stranger Things kids and the same as Wyatt Oleff, who plays in the show, who's 16, which is crazy. But she does a wonderful job in the lead. She's very captivating on screen. I don't mind her being on screen. Usually with shows like this and about like teenagers and they going through their whole little phases and things like that, it can be really annoying, really monotonous. But I think having the whole supernatural ability thing really helps to separate her character and the way that she acts from other high school or coming of age type stories. And she keeps that same energy throughout the whole show. Like she has, she goes through these mood temperaments, which a young girl or any young teenager would go through, but mainly a young female because of, periods and going through hormone stages and going through, her specifically losing her father, and all these responsibilities are dumped on her. Meanwhile, navigating school life and love life and things like that. So throughout the show, she gets pretty annoyed with, certain people, specifically Wyatt Oleff she gets annoyed with, or her best friend's boyfriend she gets annoyed with. So it's just interesting to see how she navigates all this while discovering that she has these superpowers. Another favorite in this show, he's probably my favorite part of the show, is Wyatt Oleff. I think he does a really good job of being that comedic relief in the show, as well as that love interest in the show. He plays the type of character that Jon Cryer was in Pretty in Pink, the kind of geeky guy who's in love with this girl who doesn't really give him the time of day or doesn't really want to or doesn't notice it yet. And I think he does that in a very non-annoying way. It's pretty funny. In Jon Cryer in Pretty in Pink, he get kind of annoying and kind of like kid-like. Wyatt Oleff in this seems really believable, and he lives with his dad, he isn't really a good dad. He's always gone, never showing him attention. At one point in the show, he even calls him a derogatory term based on how he's dressed. So he's another interesting character in this show because he's not like the typical, has a bad dad or has a bad mother. And he's rebellious and he's bad and he's just horrible to everybody. He's actually a really nice, sweet kid that likes Sid in the show. Weirdly enough, his name is Stanley in this show as it was in It. So one of the biggest gripes that people had with this show is the runtime, which I binged this show. There's only 7 episodes and they're each like 20 minutes long. I think the longest one is like 28, 29 minutes or something like that. One of them were even 18 or 19 minutes. So in my opinion, I think the runtime is absolutely perfect. Now, these are coming from the same creators who created End of the Fucking World. The director, John Entwistle, I believe that's his name. I could have chopped that all up. He does a really good job in both of these shows by creating an atmosphere. Obviously, if you watch End of the Fucking World, you can see the parallels and how the worlds are and how they look and how the characters interact with each other. Of course, they have this dry humor, as with most British type shows like The Office, that I just absolutely love. I love dry humor. And if you're into dry humor, you should absolutely check out End of the Fucking World and I Am Not Okay With This. You can tell that the director has a clear vision for these TV shows. And with the runtimes, in both TV shows, they're relatively short. And I'm okay with that, especially for a series like this on Netflix that you just want to binge really quick and just watch. These worlds are really sunken and they're not dark, but they have dark humor. But the world is, really dull and plain, and these characters talk really monotonously. And I don't want to be in this world for 45 minutes to an hour long each episode. I just don't, especially when they have like 10 episodes. So I think this runtime is really perfect. It gets me in and out and helps me know the characters in a short amount of time. And I just think that's perfect for just like watching and sitting down and enjoying the show. I don't want to be sometimes with longer shows like Grey's Anatomy, for instance. Like there's like 13 seasons. I'm only on like season 10, and they're 45 minutes each to an hour long. And I don't want to be in that world for that long watching and binging this show. First off, they just have too many deaths. Like I'm crying every other week watching Grey's Anatomy in this hospital. I'm tired of this hospital. I don't want to be in this hospital no more. Like it's too long. And that's another thing that turns me off from like starting new shows, is because they're too long and they have too many seasons and too many episodes. I'm like, no, forget it. I'm not watching it. So I think the runtime of this Netflix series, both of them, are perfect. With the source material, if you read the Charles Foreman comic book that this show is based on, you'll know that the comic book has, more characters to it, more layers, and it's a little bit more vulgar than what the show actually is. But the director decided to keep only what's important in it, and I believe that he did a good job of keeping what's important and having the clear base and getting right to the root of the story. I can definitely see this show being expanded just off of that one comic alone, and I'm interested to see where it's going to go. The writers of the show make sure not to force things into your face, like overlying themes and things like that. It's really just, it feels natural. It feels like just a girl navigating through teenage life, and she just so happens to find out that she has superpowers and that somebody's stalking her. So it just feels very naturalistic that way. Nothing feels forced, and that's really refreshing to watch. Sophia Bryant as Dina plays the best friend to Sydney in the story, and I think she does a really good job in this story playing the best friend that's gets a boyfriend and kind of forgets about her best friend just a little bit, playing that whole trope out. This is my first time seeing her in anything. I believe this is her first major role in something, and I think she absolutely blows it out of the water. She plays her part really well, and she's a really likable character. Kathleen Rose Perkins as the mother of Sid, she does a really good job playing the stressed out mom who's just overworked, doesn't have a father in the house anymore to help her out with anything. You can tell she's stressed, and she does a good job of portraying that on screen. I was thinking of where I remember her from, and she was in the movie The Pact, which is a horror movie. Don't believe it's on Netflix anymore, but it was pretty underrated when we seen it. And if you haven't seen The Pact, go try to find that on Blu-ray or something like that. Really good underrated horror movie. I thought she did excellent in that. Aiden Hissong, also in this story, he plays the younger brother of Sid, and I think he just blows out the water as well. With kid actors, they can kind of become annoying, especially when they're playing that little cutesy type role that he played in this. But it was a different kind of cutesy role. He was a really smart kid, and it was just he played that role really well, and it wasn't annoying at all. It was actually pretty uplifting and funny, especially when he got spoiler alert, he got beat up. And he just came back home pissed at his sister, like really out of character, and like just mad as hell. Like I thought that was funny as hell. But yeah, back to the comic by Charles Foreman. It's really weird because you see a lot of things in the comics that you could potentially see in the show, and if you read the comic and what happens when she climbs up to the top of that thing, spoiler alert, it happened in the show as well. And in the comic, you're like, oh shit, this is about to be a one season type thing. But somebody shows up, and that's how it ends. I can see the many themes in this, dark comic being placed in the show for next season. I think there's a lot more source material they can work with and a lot more things that they can build upon. If I had one thing, I had one gripe about the show, maybe the common cliches, the whole best friend has the jock. He wants her, he act like he really does, and Sophia Lillis doesn't really, or Sid in the show doesn't really like him. Spoiler alert, he ends up cheating, and they go through that whole thing. So there's just really some tropes, common cliches, but shows like this, you kind of need them. They didn't really bother me too much. The story itself really is what kept me engaged and things like that, and I can relate to it. Who's this show for? Anybody could watch it and enjoy it. I think more people, from the teenagers all the way up to maybe early 30s, late 20s, something like that, in that range, I think they really enjoy this show. I enjoyed this show, even though I'm not a teenage girl or anything like that, but there was things within Wyatt Olef's character I could relate to. There was things in Sid that I could relate to, especially that anxiety part when she was in the store and like she didn't have enough money for the cash, or she didn't have enough money for the groceries, and she's just standing next to Stanley, and it's just like, oh shit, like like I sweat everywhere, just coming drenched in sweat, kill me. Like, stuff like that fucking sucks. But another interesting thing about this show, both of these shows, End of the Fucking World and I Am Not Okay With This, they're kind of in the same universe, which they're building this dull universe that's really different. Like, I've never seen like a universe like that's really like dull and plain, but has these interesting characters. Yeah, and I just can't wait to see where, you know, things are going to go in the next season, because in the first season of End of the Fucking World, I'm like, where the hell could they possibly go now in this second season? What story can they tell? End up telling an incredible second season story, and I got my faith in Jonathan, and that he's going to craft another beautiful second season of this show. But yeah, guys, it's the end of this review. Hope you guys like this review, man. This is just my take on it. I tried not to put too many spoilers in the show. Yeah, I would also recommend buying a comic and reading it. I got mine on I got mine on Amazon, but with the Kindle thing, so it was a PDF. So yeah, you guys make sure you guys go check out the show. See you guys in the next video.